Hello and welcome to today's episode of Health University, where I have the good fortune of sharing with you the deep knowledge of my new friend and colleague, Sarah Banta. And I'm going to read your bio, Sarah, because it is so replete. I don't want to miss anything. Sarah is a trusted voice in the world of health and wellness, known for her unwavering dedication to helping individuals take back control of their health. As a certified dietary supplement professional and a proud member of the National Association of Nutrition Professionals, Sarah combines cutting-edge science with compassionate guidance to support lasting transformation. And really, that's kind of what it's all about, isn't it? It can't be either or. She's the founder of Accelerated Health Products, a trailblazing brand that has been named Most Innovative Supplement Company 4 years in a row. Through her visionary leadership, Sarah has built a trusted line of natural, effective supplements that support the body at its core without gimmicks, shortcuts, or compromise. She's the host of an award-winning podcast, Accelerated Health with Sarah Banta, ranked among the top 10 health and supplement podcasts, where she shares practical strategies and forward-thinking insights with global audiences. Her honest conversations with experts across the health spectrum make complex topics feel clear, empowering, and actionable. She's also a sought-after speaker at events and conferences around the world, where her presentations are known for being as engaging as they are informative. This is great, blending science, personal stories, and real-world tips that audience can use immediately. At the heart of her work is a simple but powerful belief, and I think we share this. True health comes from within, through the right nutrition, clean living, and a return to what helps the body truly heal and what it needs. Whether through her podcast, products, or speaking events, she is on a mission to help others feel energized, resilient, and alive again. She's not just reshaping the supplement industry, she's building a movement. Oh, I feel so much the same, for a healthier, more vibrant world. And thank you so much, Sarah. This is exactly the conversation we have. I truly feel like this is activist time for health and well-being, that we've really reached a threshold where we must pivot and do what we can to reclaim our whole health, and in the course of this conversation, our reproductive health. So I'm really grateful that you're joining us today, and I think that the conversation is going to focus on liver and thyroid health. And so I invite you to ad lib anything that I may have missed in the bio, and to introduce yourself a bit and share, why you want to have this conversation here at Health University.
Well, number one, our kids are my passion, right? Because they are the hope of the future. I have three amazing, beautiful kids now, but at one point, I didn't know if I was going to be able to have kids. I was having issues getting pregnant myself. I didn't know anything, Susan. I didn't know what organic meant. I thought it was a gimmick. I was microwaving foods. I was doing all the wrong things. So number one, if you're out there thinking, well, there's too much, I'm overwhelmed, I can't get there. I was at the bottom of the bottom, and I didn't feel good. I had PCOS, Crohn's disease, heavy metal toxicity, insulin resistance, and a whole bunch of other things, but those were the big ones, right? And I could not get pregnant. So child number one actually was lucky. My cycles were never predictable ever since high school. I was an athlete. I always blamed it on my athletic, chronic cardio with rowing. And I thought it would have just come back. I then was on birth control. Wish I knew not to be on that at the time. And my doctor put me on it for my skin, of all things. And I ate a ton of sugar because it was all about avoid the fat. I ate a good amount of protein, but I ate the sugars. And I'm not talking about the fruits. I ate fruit, but I had the frozen yogurts and the bagels and all of that stuff.
Yeah, the low-fat ice cream.
Yeah, yes. I was their number one buyer for the low-fat ice cream. And then when it came time to get pregnant the first time, I think my body had that. It was that one magical period that came, or one cycle that came, and I got pregnant. Thank God. The second time, no, And I thought, oh gosh, I knew this was going to happen. So I got help. I was put on Clomid. It worked. Had child number two. Child number three, I said, okay, Sarah, you are a stressed person. Stress is part of your issue. Let's not worry if we're going to have child number three. I have two beautiful kids. Let's be off the birth control. Let's just try this naturally. Still didn't know anything about nutrition.
Okay.
And I luckily got pregnant.
Mhm.
So I was diagnosed with PCOS. I was never told it had anything to do with my diet.
Thank
Nothing,
goodness.
which
Oh,
is so crazy because the number one cause of PCOS is insulin resistance.
mhm.
Now, insulin resistance at the level of the liver causes diabetes. At the level of the heart disease. At the level of the ovaries, PCOS. At the level of the brain, Alzheimer's. So now that I am not wanting to have any kids anymore, do I not worry about it? No, because it's affecting my brain, my liver, and all my other
Absolutely. Yes.
symptoms.
If I may, and I just want to reiterate for the listeners, PCOS is not a reproductive health issue. It is a metabolic health issue. It is a whole health issue that will require attention long after your baby making years are done, because you really do need to have, a healthy body, a healthy liver, thyroid, brain, bone, all of that, gut. So I'm excited to learn about the liver. In Chinese medicine, we refer to the liver as the general, the Chinese
Yes.
medicine being derived from ancient warring cultures, but it
Yes.
does so very much. So what would you say is like the cause these days of liver being under attack?
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, first, insulin resistance, as we mentioned, is the root of many metabolic diseases, the obesity, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, hormonal imbalances, not just fertility, but estrogen dominance, even cognitive decline. And if you are in your teenage years and you have really painful menstrual cycles, or if you're not getting pregnant in those fertile years, or if you've got really worsened perimenopause or menopausal symptoms, the root cause is the same. It's
Hmm.
all estrogen dominance, low progesterone, everything is out of whack. And insulin resistance is often blamed on poor diet.
Hmm.
Sugar. Yes, we know that sugar causes glucose to rise, the wrong sugars. But I'm not saying don't eat your apple and don't eat your cherries and your watermelon. I have watermelon, especially this summer, every day because it's so delicious.
Hmm.
But
But you're
that's not
getting
what
the
we're
fiber
talking
with
about.
that.
Yes, you get the
Mhm.
fiber and the nutrients. We're talking about processed foods.
Mhm.
70% of the diet in the United States is processed foods. And you might think, well, I eat healthy, organic, keto, low carb protein bars every day. That's processed food. You don't know what's in it. And I actually have a funny story. I've been off protein bars for years and years. I saw this one. I thought, that seems pretty clean. It's really got great macros. I'm going to try it. It literally was toxic to my liver. I could tell. I was so bloated. I was
Wow.
constipated. My bowel movements were very strange. I'm like, this is not supposed to be in my
Mhm.
body.
Right. And with
So,
someone with Crohn's, you have a higher, alert, a red alert when something is not right for your body.
right. Well, the good news is the Crohn's is gone. However, my gut is always that weak link in my body. So it's not just the food though. It's not just the amount of sugar you're eating. It's the package in those ultra processed foods of the artificial ingredients your body doesn't recognize, the
Mhm.
glyphosate, the heavy metals, the microplastics, the emulsifiers. And
Mhm.
then you add in the stripped down sodium, the seed oils,
Oh,
and the excess sugars that are added without any protein or fiber. So it literally is like cocaine going into your body. And then what's even worse is that it has ingredients in you that hit your gut, and your gut says, "Oh, I want more." So you
right.
overeat it.
Right.
And then you're eating way more than you would if you stuck to whole foods. So
Mhm.
this is number one.
Mhm.
Insulin just goes way up, blood sugar goes way up, and it's not just um, in the blood. It's at the cellular level. Your cells get overstuffed with fat. If
Mhm.
you're obese and you can't lose that fat weight, those fat cells are survival mechanism. They're overstuffed with toxins and the heavy metals and all of these ingredients we're talking about. So here comes insulin wanting to drive glucose into the cell. It knocks on the cell, and the cell says, "Nope, I'm
No room.
stuffed. Go away."
Mhm.
Right? And
Mhm.
so it can be things beyond that sugar. And what happens too is that then you've got the pandemic, the
Yeah.
spike protein. It attacked the liver.
Mhm.
And the liver is where that blood sugar is regulated, right? Then you've also got heavy metals, lead, mercury, cadmium. They cause the liver has to filter all of that. The endocrine disruptors, fluoride, chlorine, bromide, the plastics, glyphosate, the liver's got to take on all of these things. The liver was not meant to do all of
Mhm.
this work. And so
Mhm.
it gets these things just keep stacking up and stacking up and stacking up. Well, what else happens in the liver is it converts T4 to T3, the
Mhm.
thyroid hormones.
Mhm.
T3 is your metabolism.
Mhm.
Without enough T3 in your body, it doesn't matter how many diets you go on or how much cardio you do, you're not going to burn fat
Mhm.
and your insulin is going to stay high. The liver is also where you regulate the cholesterol levels in your body too. So
Mhm.
what I'm seeing is people even on low carb diets today are saying my blood test is completely different. My cholesterol's up, my thyroid's down, my testosterone's down,
Mhm.
hormones are all processed in the liver.
Yeah.
Now, it's an interesting story is my 18-year-old daughter got hit with exposure to the spike protein,
Mm.
and her period pain went from the normal five, where level five, where she's like,
Mhm.
Mom, I got to take some Advil, but I'm going to school, I'll go to practice, to a 12,
Oh.
to Mom, I'm throwing up. Will you just make me pass out? I can't deal with this pain
Mm.
anymore. It's not worth living. And she was home all summer, lost a ton of weight. She had no weight to lose, and she's an
Mm.
athlete, and she was in so much pain.
Wow.
Now, what was it? The spike protein has rocked her body and caused issues, fibroids to increase. There was an imbalance in her hormones, all of these things, and she is prone to PCOS. So it's something
Yes,
that
it's
we're going
it's
to have to,
herited. There's
yep,
a genetic predisposition for sure.
absolutely.
And
So
she was prone to it from your mom and your grandmother. So, I say that because I always want people to know that there's something that they can and should do when PCOS is at present, but also to not beat oneself up so much because truly it is an inherited metabolic
yeah,
complication. So,
yeah.
mm,
Well, the good news is through supplementation,
mm,
and I really had to dig deep because it's one thing when you're suffering, but when your child is in so much pain, you will do
it's
anything.
terrible.
And it was just awful to watch during the summer. It was last summer. Thank goodness it was during the summertime because she would have missed a ton of school.
Yeah.
But that girl now is rowing, and she's actually at Henley in the at the Henley race in England, which is
What?
globally recognized
Oh my goodness.
right
What?
now. And
Oh,
that she
congratulations.
is, yeah, she's all of 116 pounds
Oh,
just racing against
powerhouse.
these big girls. So super exciting.
That's
So
fantastic. What did you
yeah.
do?
Okay, so the number one thing is one of the other issues with the liver and with the thyroid is iodine deficiency.
Hmm.
Okay, so iodine is that 4 and 3 molecules in the T4 and T3 of iodine. Well, in our modern world, our soils are completely depleted of iodine and every other mineral and vitamin, right? So
Hmm.
our
Yeah.
soils are completely depleted. But we also now have a bigger impact of these halogens, the fluoride, the bromide, the chlorine. Fluoride is in the news. Thank goodness it's finally getting recognized as dumbing down our children, lowering IQ, causing cognition to go down, and also a whole bunch of other issues.
Mhm.
So we've got iodine going down and fluoride going up. Why does that matter? Well, they look the same. The
Mhm.
body sees them, they look the same. So
Mhm.
for those iodine receptor sites on every cell in the body, the if there's not enough iodine in the body, the fluoride and bromide and chlorine will sit in those parking spots,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Okay. So, and in breast tissue, there's 4 times the amount of iodine receptor sites as in the thyroid.
Oh, interesting.
So, the number one cause of breast cancer, iodine deficiency,
Hmm.
high bromide. So, if you are at risk of breast cancer, that is something to think about. Fibroids. Iodine helps with fibroids. Iodine helps with goiters. Iodine helps with hypothyroidism. And if your doctor is telling you that you are normal, your TSH and T4 are in normal range, but you are fatigued, you're constipated, you have brain fog, your hair's falling out, your eyebrows are thinning, you're retaining water, your gut is slow, those are all signs
Mhm.
that you are hypothyroid.
Mhm.
Now, your thyroid is the master endocrine gland. Well, guess what else is an endocrine organ? Is your ovaries,
Exactly.
right?
Mhm.
So it is controlling your gonadal axis, your HPT axis, hypothalamus pituitary thyroid axis, affects your hypothalamus pituitary gonadal axis
Mhm.
and your hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. So your adrenals will probably burn out as well if your thyroid's not working.
Yep, because it's upstream. And so if
Exactly.
it's not working well, then the organs, the glands that are downstream are just obviously going to be compromised. Hey, thanks for spending your time with us here at Health University. I hope you're getting as much out of this episode as we are. And I wanted to call to your attention that there seems to be a theme that we need to detox. It is part of a foundation of resuming health, including your fertile health. So I've put together a free 28-day detox masterclass that you can access by clicking on the link below. I'm sure you'll get so much out of it. And as I say, I think that it is really critical to begin with a 28-day gentle detox. And now let's go back to our show. Quick question for you, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
about iodine,
Yes.
because I remember hearing that for somebody with Hashimoto's, that they should not be taking excess iodine because the iodine will adversely affect the enzyme, the TPO enzyme that the antibody is seeking. I'd love your response to this.
Yes. Dr. David Brownstein, who has been on my show multiple times, I asked him the question. He's the OG on iodine.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, can you please put this to rest,
Mhm.
this myth? And he said, Sarah, I am the person that people are quoting when it comes to you should not take iodine if you have Hashimoto's. That was in the beginning of my practice when I knew nothing. And
Ah,
he says he puts every customer or patient of his with Hashimoto's or without on high doses of
oh, isn't
iodine.
that interesting? I'm so glad that I interrupted you for this because it
Yes.
was just kind of noodling in the back of my mind. Like I do remember hearing that people with HPO antibodies need to be mindful of their iodine. And now
Yeah.
it's and this is how science advances, right? We
Yes.
think one thing and then we learned later that what we thought was exactly opposite,
E-
exactly wrong. So very
exactly.
curious. Okay.
Yeah, and I high dose iodine and I've never felt better. My daughter does, and it helped balance out her hormones. You also can use and I only use my iodine, which is the acceleridine iodine. It is different than any others
Okay.
because It's monoatomic, meaning one molecule of iodine. So it is in the bioavailable form to get into every cell of the body. Your body does not have to break it apart from another molecule like
Okay.
most iodine supplements. And
Mhm.
then it also comes deep down from the earth, untouched by modern man in South America. Why is that
Mhm.
important? Because Fukushima and other toxins in our oceans and most iodine supplements coming from Asia, most
Mhm.
of them are contaminated. So here you are taking a supplement to detox your cells
That
and it's
is
full of
contaminated.
contamination, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So that is where the accelerating iodine comes in. But what you can also do, and I actually just did it over my liver, is you can use it with a castor oil pack, the
Mm.
two together, mix the castor oil with the accelerating iodine over your liver,
Mhm.
over any fibroids, over any PMS cramping or
Mm.
inflammation, or directly over your thyroid, and it's very effective. So
Interesting.
so the iodine is, this is the other part that it helps with cleansing the blood so the liver can do its job.
Mhm.
It's feeding the thyroid so the thyroid can work and control your whole endocrine system, including your ovaries and your reproductive organs.
Mhm.
But iodine also has a function on the cell membrane. And remember, we said that the fat cells are all stuffed with all of these toxins, and so the glucose can't get in, and that
Mhm.
causes insulin resistance. Well, the cell membrane has an iodolipid value, iodine and fat. So that iodine and fat layer, good fats like a phosphatidylcholine, will
Mhm.
help keep that flexible. So the
Mhm.
cells feel safe releasing the toxins and allowing nutrients in. That is
Interesting.
going to help with insulin resistance. That's going to help with nutritional sufficiency within the cells. It increases that ATP in the mitochondria within the cells. So here
Mhm.
we need
Because
the iodine.
they're not so bogged down, clogged down.
Exactly.
Now, is this as effective topically, as you said, with the castor oil pack as it is ingesting?
I wish it was. Our
Okay.
skin only absorbs about 20%.
Okay.
So,
So
you
it's a
know,
both
for
and. It's not an either or,
yes.
it's a both and.
So, but people that are really sensitive, they'll start with their skin. Now, you have to remember, because accelerating is powerful and it has a detoxification effect, which is a good thing because we're
Mhm.
getting the toxins out that cause insulin resistance and chronic disease and inflammation, oxidative stress, all the things, is we want to go slow.
Yeah. So they're
So
not
you
bursting.
start as a slow
Mhm.
dose and you increase. And what else is important with that is a full, complete salt. And
Mhm.
we have accelerated ancient salt. It's full of 62 minerals. But why is that important? As you're detoxing, you need the salt to hydrate the cells, plump up the blood, to push the toxins out of the body.
Got it.
Most of us are walking around dehydrated.
Yes,
That
absolutely.
that's not going to help any condition,
Mhm.
right? So that those two go together, and salt also has been shown to help with blood sugar and insulin resistance as well.
So now I have another question. I love this. The more I'm learning, the more questions I'm posing. So we were talking about PCOS. We were also talking about the spike protein. Would you say then, and it's two-part questions, is iodine helpful in reducing the coagulation effect of the spike protein?
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
so that's what
Um,
helped your daughter as well then.
Yes, and it actually helps. There's a mechanism where it actually helps reverse the damage of the spike
Oh,
protein.
wow.
Yeah, it is the one thing. Iodine is antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal, antiparasitic. It is hydrating, so it hydrates the cells without drinking water. It helps cleanse the blood for the liver to function more properly. It balances out that estrogen progesterone ratio in the body, and it helps with that cellular structure. It
Hmm.
helps. Iodine deficiency is the number one cause of depression. Most people on antidepressants actually have low thyroid. And so,
Hmm.
and the doctors, the psychiatrists are not testing thyroid
They're
health.
just
If they
testing
are, they're
TSH.
testing
TSH. That's it.
TSH. That's
Yep.
it.
Just the
And
feedback.
that doesn't tell the whole story.
No, not at
And
all.
so, if you don't take anything else away from this talk, if your symptoms are telling you you're not normal, but your doctor's telling you you're normal, find another doctor because you are your best doctor,
Yeah.
right?
Been living in your body your whole life, you know what is healthy for you. You know what
Yeah,
health feels like, God willing, that you've had some time in your life that you felt healthy. By the
yeah,
time you're listening to this podcast, yeah, I would imagine you're old enough now that you have had times as a young person where you knew what health and vitality felt like. I have
yeah,
one more question,
yeah.
because you speak of the hydration, in the importance of the hydration in our gonads, in our ovaries. So I'm thinking now diminished ovarian reserve or premature ovarian insufficiency, where this person's ovaries are either through time, but it seems that there's an acceleration of time now where women are being diagnosed with people are being diagnosed with diminished ovarian reserve or premature ovarian insufficiency younger and younger.
Hmm.
People used to be able to get pregnant in their 40s. I know, in the way, way, way back machine, we were dead by our 50s, and so we were having our babies in our 20s. But even as far back as maybe, I don't know, 40 or 50 years ago, people were having babies into their 40s. Do you see iodine deficiency as possibly being the implication as to why we're having this trend? I won't call it a pandemic, trend toward infertility and diminished ovarian reserve.
I have no studies or
Mhm.
research on that. My intuition is that iodine deficiency is the cause of most diseases
Mhm.
because it is so impactful and it's the number one mineral for the body. If you were to tell me I could take one supplement to a deserted island, it would be iodine.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's unfortunate that we're in this crisis because we're not getting it in our bodies and the need for it has increased,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you feel the cells re-energize, it's detoxing the cells, it's providing that cell structure. It's important for your brain, your liver, your gonads, every cell in the body. And it's antiviral, antiparasitic, all those things. And I meant to say also, parasitic infections and candida have skyrocketed too.
Yes.
And you're hearing about people with skin rashes and all of these things that are unexplained. These
Mm-hmm.
unexplained symptoms, our immune systems are under attack.
Mm-hmm.
Iodine is huge for your immune system. It
Thank
was
you.
used during the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, you had mentioned, you had asked what else did I use for my daughter because I want to make
Yes.
sure we
Mm-hmm.
we touch on the liver. Now, I also coincidentally had a horrific liver issue last fall, and coincidentally, it was at the same time that we launched our accelerated liver care supplement. I have been using liver supplements for years and years and years. I knew how important the liver is. I never really drink alcohol. I really don't drink it anymore
Mm-hmm.
because I love my liver so much.
Mm-hmm.
But these liver supplements I could tell they weren't feeling great. And what I came to find out, Susan, is most supplements, and that includes liver supplements out there, are filled with just dead ingredients,
Ah.
ingredients with no life force. And you mentioned Chinese medicine. I work with Chinese and Ayurvedic herbs. Then
Mm-hmm.
we enhance them with scalar frequencies. We combine them with more cutting edge natural nutraceuticals as well. That's what
That's
we
the
do at
accelerated.
Accelerated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And so we combined with the accelerated liver care 13 very specific herbs, some that you've heard of, like milk thistle and tudka, but
Mm-hmm.
some that you haven't, maybe like skullcap and palpereira, that
Mm-hmm.
have studies behind them for cirrhosis and liver cancer, liver
Mm-hmm.
inflammation, things that affect your hair growth, your
Mm-hmm.
thyroid. Now remember,
Your
eight,
nails, your eyes.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And just between addressing thyroid and liver health, people will say their hair's growing, their nails are growing. It's not the biotin, it's not the collagen. Collagen's great, but
Mhm.
that's like the cherry on
Well,
top.
they can't work if your liver can't process it.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
inert if your liver can't process it.
And so the accelerated liver care detoxes the liver, opens the all the pathways, phase one, phase two pathway
Mhm.
of the liver, but with ingredients also that work for every body. So
Mhm.
other things to think about is there's some ingredients that people or companies put in their liver supplements that can backfire.
Mhm.
Turmeric.
Mhm.
Turmeric is very high in oxalates.
Mhm.
That can slow down your thyroid. It can actually cause urogenital issues, arthritic pain, whole bunch of other things.
Absolutely. It affects the uterine artery.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so any beets or spinach or green drinks or green
Oxalate,
powders
oxalate,
you need to be careful with.
oxalate.
Then the other one is sulfur-based ingredients.
hmm
So sulfur is a good thing. Our body needs it. But what's happened is because of glyphosate and other environmental toxins, it has hijacked the sulfur detox pathways. So these
Mm.
once healthy ingredients now back up the liver. DIM. DIM is fully based in cruciferous vegetables, and those are all sulfur based. Your broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, kale,
hmm
onions, garlic, I know they're so good.
hmm
Egg yolks, those all have sulfur in them. So if you have an allergy or sensitivity to onions or garlic, you might rethink some of the things in your supplement cabinet too. MSM, glutathione, NAC, we need all those things. But by taking a supplement, it's full of sulfur and it can actually make things worse. So just be aware of that for some of you. Um, so the accelerated liver care does not have any sulfur or any oxalate ingredients in it. But what we've done with the 13 herbs is we played around with the ratios to find the exact best, most optimal synergistic nature of the different ratios together. The herbs are at high concentration. So a
hmm
lot of supplements will only have like 1 to 1 or 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 concentrations. We do 10 to 1.
hmm
And we have no fillers in any of our supplements. And then what we do is we enhance them with scalar frequencies to increase the efficacy. So, for instance, with the accelerated liver care, the frequencies are meant to open up the gallbladder and liver meridians so
hmm
that when you take the supplement, it says, oh, I know exactly where to go. I'm going to go straight
hmm
to that gallbladder and liver. And I can
hmm
tell you, when you start taking it, your bowel movements will be better. You'll see things in the toilet you've never seen, and you're getting the junk out.
Amazing.
So it's that 1-2 punch with the iodine and the accelerated liver care. As far as diet goes, like I said, eat your fruits, eat whole foods,
hmm
stick to whole foods. Hopefully they're organic.
Yes,
Hope,
please.
hope,
I'm gonna pipe in and say, not just hopefully, please make them
yeah,
organic because they're now available, flash frozen in the
yes,
big box stores or online. So they're
yeah,
in there, so they're not that much more expensive. And the
no,
cost of trying to then detox all that pesticide, especially when you're trying to get
exactly.
pregnant, is way too high in comparison.
And your baby's gonna love you for it because the amount of autism, and it's not even just autism, it's that gray area
Mhm.
where you
The
don't
spectrum
really
area.
know. Yeah, there's not a diagnosis,
Right.
but you know something's off. There's
hmm
so much of that going on. And Susan, I can tell you from my own heart, I mean, 10 out of 10 of my high school friends, three of them have children with severe autism, but every single one of them has one child that's off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a scary
It
statistic.
sure is.
And so here we are, we're worried about getting pregnant, but then once we get pregnant, what have we done with our child?
hmm
And this is something I look back and I go, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky that my kids are healthy. However, I say that my son, who was the eldest, he at 9 years old, he had leukemia.
Oh,
And
so
that
sorry.
was the reason I started my business, is because within a year and with natural supplements, we got him cancer free, and he is 22 years old, graduated from college, super healthy,
Mm,
never even suffered a beat during the pandemic, immune system's rock solid.
mm.
So, there is hope, and I believe that there's a way to reverse all disease, but you have
Absolutely.
to be active. You
Yeah.
cannot just sit back and say, "Oh, I think I'm eating healthy."
Yeah.
That's not how it works in today's world. And along with the organic fruits and vegetables, I am a huge proponent of wild animal
Yes.
protein.
Yes.
Bison, venison, elk, lamb, wild fish. But even I hate this. I have a corner store in my town that's called Wild Fork, and they've got bison and elk and all of these meats, but they're grain fed. So
Mm.
you have to even be careful now with those wild meats,
Grass fed and grass fed.
right?
Yep.
But there's plenty of sources around the country that ship directly to your doorstep.
Mhm.
It's no more expensive than the market, so
Mhm.
cost should not be your complaint. Um,
And when you're eating this way, you need to eat less. You're satiated
exactly,
because your
exactly.
cells are getting the nutrients they need. So as you mentioned earlier on in the conversation, you eat this processed food and you're not satiated. So you need to eat some more because you literally are starving, even though you've just put, thousands of calories into your bodies.
Yeah.
Conversely, when you're eating nutrient dense foods, you're very satisfied with less. And so, all the metabolic processes are healthier and happier.
Yes, absolutely. And so unfortunately, we don't live in Europe,
Mhm.
where a lot of these toxins are illegal. Hopefully, we
Mhm.
get there soon,
Mhm.
and get the fluoride out of the water. But right now, we're going to have to be proactive with our diet and our lifestyle. And that includes sleep and stress management. And like I said, I think a huge part of my blood sugar and infertility was stress. So
Mhm.
that's something that I highly recommend you address, whatever that means.
Well, no pun intended, it is a chicken and the egg kind of scenario, right? Because we are stressed emotionally when we're
Yeah.
nutritionally deficient.
Yes.
And conversely, when we're stressed emotionally, it will adversely impact our ability to assimilate and eliminate efficiently. So
Absolutely.
it is a whole lifestyle commitment that we want to make to ourselves. We came into this skin suit and onto this planet to do something of importance, and we can do that when we are optimized. One
Yeah.
more little tidbit that I'd like to add back to the pesticides and the making sure that we're making healthy babies. It really does start at the level of the eggs. We've seen now research that shows microplastics and inflammatory markers in the follicular fluid where that egg is growing. And we see that in utero, once that baby is forming, pesticides are 4 times higher in utero through the placenta than they are in mother's blood. So truly, 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 there is just no going halfway on this because we're
No.
we're already too exposed environmentally. So we really must be advocates for ourselves and for our family and for the future.
Yeah, and our moms and our grandmas, they didn't have to worry about this stuff.
It wasn't there.
They, no, it really wasn't. They were lucky. And I mean, I talked to my mom about this stuff, and she never had a weight problem. She never thought about carbs, fats, and proteins because
Mhm.
it was all real food at that
Mhm.
point.
And the world was less toxic. I mean, it
Yeah.
was becoming toxic,
Yeah.
but it was not to the threshold that we now are facing ourselves.
Yeah.
Wow, Sarah, I could go on and on and on. And I can tell that with your body of knowledge, you could go on and on and on as well. But I want to be mindful of your time and the listeners and viewers' time. And I do want listeners and viewers to have you look in the show notes. I will be having links to Sarah's accelerated products so that you can begin now. And as you said, Sarah, begin. And I'm presuming that in the product purchase or the product description, there is a methodology by which you
Oh,
say
yes.
start low and increase over time. So
Yes,
you'll
all
get
of the instructions, but I also invite everyone listening, if they're not ready to purchase anything, but they just want to continue learning, I have free group coaching, and the link is on the website as well, sarabantahealth.com. join it. It's on Telegram. You're within a like-minded group and you can ask your questions. I'm on it 7 days a week. I
Wow.
don't take a break. And I post things daily to keep you learning
Yeah.
because my goal is to empower you with the knowledge so that you can go to your practitioners and you can really take that power back because
Mhm.
your body is yours and you're the one living in it.
And maybe you don't need to go to your practitioners because you've taken your body back and your power back. That's a beautiful way to finish this conversation for the time being. But I want to ask right now if I can have you back at another time
Absolutely. I'd
because
love
I
to
would
come
love
back.
to further this conversation. But for now, I want to say thank you so very much for your time. Listeners, viewers, thank you so very much for your time. We really appreciate the effort that you want to make to help create your own health, your fertile health, and a healthy future. We'll sign off for now, and I always sign off with the Health University motto, class dismissed. Hey, thanks for joining us today here at Health University. If you want more episodes like this at Health University, you can find them wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you never miss an episode. If you have any thoughts or questions, please drop a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you at our next episode of Health University. But for now, class dismissed.